Hello again, I'm Bob Colt. We're continuing our conversations in Charlotte Public Schools. Bill Barnes is with us today. Bill, you're the high school principal in Charlotte. How's it going this year?
It's going great. We've had a great start to the school year. A lot of community involvement. We did for the first time in a number of years. We had a parade for homecoming, and we had a window painting downtown with the businesses, and we had a great turnout last week for a tailgate party and for a pep assembly for all of our fall sports. And so it's been a great year, and then the teachers are doing a phenomenal job in the classroom this year too, working on their curriculum and working through their goals. So it's been a great start to the year.
Well, as you started the year, there was a lot of construction going on throughout the school district. Did you get everything done, ready in time to go?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're operating out of our new main office this year. We moved in there early last spring, and then all summer long they had all the ductwork torn out and the ceilings torn down, and walls and ceilings and doors and windows were all torn apart and all put back in, and it was ready for the first day. So there's been a huge transformation over the last couple of years in the high school. From the new locker rooms to the new science labs to the new weight room to all that heating and cooling stuff to the new office and then the iPads. So we're very fortunate at the high school to have the support of the community to help us pay for those things, because it's really changed the look of our school and what we've been able to do in it.
Yeah, so you talk a little bit about the school facility itself, but part of the school is the technology that's gone into it.
Absolutely.
And that's been a big investment.
Huge. Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Primarily the iPads, the one-to-one iPad initiative has been the biggest part of that. So every one of our kids has an iPad, every one of our teachers has an iPad, and this is our second year using those devices. And it's funny, we're at the point now where we forget what it was like to not have them, just in terms of communication, in terms of accessibility to information for kids, ways that they can get in touch with their teachers and the teachers can get in touch with them, ways that we can post things to Edmodo or Weebly's or whatever else we want to do. We don't print out agendas for staff meetings anymore. We just do it all on the iPad. So it really has changed the way that we do business, and it's been a great tool for our kids to really push their learning and bring them into the 21st century.
We'll talk a little bit about that as a learning tool for young people, because they're so technology adaptive and sponges on things that they can access on the internet and in learning tools. It really gives Charlotte an edge, doesn't it?
It does, and the reality is we're training our kids for jobs that don't exist yet, and that's one of the things that we talk about in our orientation sessions in the fall, is that the jobs that our kids are going to leave here and do, a lot of them haven't even been thought up yet because technology moves so quickly. And so we need to teach our kids to be ethical technology consumers. We need to teach them how to use that technology in a productive way, and the iPads have been able to do that. And we've learned a lot from the kids too, just in terms of how best to use them and how best to meet their needs. They're not shy about letting us know what's working and what's not, and that's been really helpful for our teachers. And we see a lot of our teachers now have flipped their instruction, where the kids are watching videos at home and then engaging with material when they come into class. So they have that access to the teacher while they're trying to make sense of the learning, and they just kind of get the basics at home. What traditionally would have been maybe a lecture and notes, now it takes 10 minutes at home for them to watch a video, and then they can really get into some deep level learning once they get into the classroom with their teachers.
So they're on their iPad and doing homework.
Yes.
And hopefully the parents buy that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard parents even say, hey, it's funny, I hear your voice at my dining room table now, to some of our teachers, because that's what it is. The teachers put together these videos, the kids watch them at home, and then that gives them time in class to really get into the meat of the work that they need to do.
Are you concerned that technology changes so quickly? I mean, in 18 months or 24 months, we're going to be on to something else.
Yeah, that's one of the realities of working with technology. But the nice thing about the iPads is they're adaptive, and we're able to continue moving as the technology grows. As the new iOS system comes out, we download it and we're off and running with it. And the other nice thing is having the capability to access the internet through those devices we're keeping up with the cutting edge stuff that's happening out there. So, so although the devices themselves, eventually they get to a point where yes, they're old. What they're able to do and the way they're designed allows us to continue to access the cutting edge materials that we need. And so I see us using them for a long time.
Well, that's great. So the facility is better than ever,
Yep.
and you've got as much or more technology than both students and teachers can really work with. Talk a little bit about the teaching staff then at the high school. How do you think the quality of the staff has developed over time?
We have a great staff. I would match them up with any high school around. Just in terms of their adaptability, taking on iPads in a classroom is not an easy thing to do. But our teachers have really done a great job, and some real leaders have emerged from our staff that have helped their colleagues, have helped me, have helped everybody in the building learn to teach better. We have Mrs. Becker was the Michigan Online Teacher of the Year last year, and we're lucky to have her. And so the teaching staff as a whole really cares a lot about the kids, really cares a lot about their success, really cares about the school, the community, and that transfers over to the kids. The kids know when people are genuine and when people actually care. And we have a staff that is very genuine and that very much cares about the success of the kids, the success of the school, the success of our community. And so that makes for a great environment, a great place to learn, a great place to teach, and a great place to really put our students in a position to be successful when they leave here.
Well, talk a little bit about the students then. Describe a typical Charlotte High School student, if there is such a thing.
Well, we're lucky in that we have close to 900 students, and so as a school we're just big enough where we can offer a lot of opportunities for our kids, and we're just small enough where everybody is known. And so we have a huge variety of kids that are interested in a huge variety of things. We have a really thriving athletic program. We've had a lot of success over the last couple of years in multiple sports. We just had our cross-country team, for example, ran at the state meet, and so that's a great opportunity for those kids. Then on the other hand, we have a band that is recognized statewide, if not nationally, as one of the best around. I mean, the expectation is that we go to festivals and we get ones, and that happens, and so kids take that very, very seriously. And so if you have 150 kids in the band, and then you have another couple hundred kids involved in the athletic program, and then you have other kids that are involved in the arts or in the musicals or as mentors or as links, it's pretty hard to say what the typical Charlotte High School kid looks like, but we're very lucky in that we have really involved kids who care a lot about their success, and we have really involved parents who care about their kids' success as well, so they're very supportive of the school, which is evidenced by the turnout that we get at different functions that we have, and then just the partnership that we have with our parents and their kids.
Well, so Bill, how does a principal focus on what a lot of people talk about, actually getting students to improve their achievement in the classroom? Is there something you can do or some kind of strategy that you're promoting?
Well, it takes a lot of people, and I'm just one of the people within that. I firmly believe that the principal's job in a high school is to create an environment in which what you're just talking about, can happen, which means providing support and resources and time and energy and effort for the teachers to do their jobs the best way that they can. It's engaging the kids, it's about engaging the community, it's about getting all the people in the right place and allowing them to do what they do best. And it's also about setting clear expectations and holding to those expectations for everybody. It's important for everyone to know where I stand and what I'm about, and that I don't waver from that. And I think that's the principal's job. So putting people in the right position and then having some expectations about what we do once we're in that position, and I think that goes a long way. And then coming to work excited, being proud to be the principal of Charlotte High School. I think that's huge, and that sets a tone for the rest of the school and for really the whole community, hopefully.
Well, talk a little bit about your background, because some people may know you as principal or in some other school district role. Talk a little bit about your background and how you got to be principal.
Well, I went to I got my degree from Western Michigan University. I got my bachelor's degree in English and math, and I actually had my first teaching job at Lansing Eastern High School, and I wasn't there very long. I was on the verge of getting laid off with some budget cuts, and so I ended up here midway through the year, and I started by teaching English 9, and then the next year I taught some more English, and then I ended up teaching math as well. I'm certified to teach both of those. I coached football. I was a JV football coach for 6 years. I was the forensics advisor. I was the English department chair. I was a writing coach at the middle school, intervention coordinator. I worked in the guidance office. I was a member of the school improvement team. So I was involved in a lot of stuff. And I went back to school and I got my master's degree from Michigan State in educational administration. And it just so happened that right around the time I was finishing that, I really had a great opportunity. Our former principal, Mr. Wheaton, gave me a lot of great leadership opportunities. And so all that timing worked out just right when he retired, and I was able to interview for and get this job. And so now I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's interesting because this is the last group of kids. This senior group is the last group that knew me as something other than the principal.
Sure.
And so that's it's interesting to see that dynamic.
Must be rewarding.
It is. It's very much so. Yeah, very much so. It is rewarding to see that, and it's rewarding to see, for example, a lot of the seniors on this year's football team were kids that I coached as freshmen. They had gotten moved up to JV as freshmen, and it was a great last year for me in coaching that group of kids. And so to see them graduate this year and to play their senior season was really fun for me to do that. And so, I had a lot of experiences in a pretty short amount of time that allowed me to be sitting here today, and I'm very appreciative of them because it's a fun job.
You're kind of a coach as a principal, aren't you?
In a way, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, coaching is about making the environment right for the right people to do the right things, and because ultimately it's the players on the field that make the biggest difference. And so it's the same thing in a school. It's the teachers, it's the kids, it's the parents, it's the community that really make a difference. It's just important for me to help create an environment that allows them to do what they do best.
And so in a leadership position, do you have any strategy to inspire young people or the staff? Is there something that you try to do every day in sharing as a role model where you want people to go?
Yeah, I think there are two very important pieces of that. Number one, it's building relationships and having good relationships with the staff, with the kids, with the parents, with the community, and having those relationships is extremely important to the success of an organization. It's not enough just to know somebody's name. I need to know about them. I need to know who they are, what's important to them, and let them know that I really, truly, actually care about their success. I tell every class at the beginning of the year, I'm going to try my best to know everybody's name in the school. We had 870 kids on count day, and that's a lot of names to know.
Yeah.
But I do try very hard, and I try to know names and remember them. And with the staff, it's about knowing who they are and what they're about in school and outside of school, who their families are. And it's the same with parents. It's important for me to make sure that I know which parents go with which kids and how they're involved, and it's important for me to make those relationships in the community as well. So relationships are huge for that. And then the other piece is just setting a tone about being excited about being here. If I'm the leader of the school and I'm not excited about being in the school, well, then nobody else is going to be either. So really pushing Oriole pride and being proud to be a member of Charlotte High School in whatever capacity is hugely important. We just bought 2 new banners and hung them up in the lobby, and one just says Oriole Pride, and it has the C with a bird in it. And that's just a reminder for kids every time they walk out of that lobby that you need to be proud of who you are and be proud of the school because it's a great place to be.
So is that philosophy working?
It is. I really truly think it is. I think that there's especially this year, there's a great sense of pride and community within our school this year. You can see it. You can see it with the number of kids that show up to events. We took 66 kids to Adrian a couple weeks ago on a spectator bus to watch the football game. We had more students in our student section than they did, and it's 2 hours away. That's incredible. In years past, we haven't been able to fill one spectator bus, but we had to take 2 to get all those kids down there.
Great.
And so, it works. It is, and the more success you have, the easier it is to be proud of the successes that you're gaining.
Yeah. And so you mentioned parents, and parents really need to be involved in the education of young people. What do you ask as principal for parents to do?
Well, I ask parents to be supportive of their kids and provide the environment where they can thrive and be successful, and just to advocate for them. You know, I talk to parents a lot, and it's important for them to advocate for their kids because they are the first best advocate for what their kids need. And then just find some way to be engaged with the school. You know, and I like to talk about the difference between parent involvement and parent engagement. Parent involvement means that you get the newsletter and you read it, and that's wonderful. We need to do those things. But parent engagement is about actually being a part of the conversation. So we have a parent school improvement team that meets the third Wednesday of every month. And I have, you know, between 12 and 15 parents that are always there, and we solve problems that exist within the school. We look at survey data from other parents. We, like in the October meeting, we planned out what next year's open house is going to look like, because the parents had some issues with the way we did it this year, and so that was our topic of conversation. How are we going to make it better for next year? And so that engagement really goes a long way. And then the more parents can be involved, and then the more parents can be engaged, the better off we are as a school, and the better off their kids are, most importantly.
You know, I've heard a lot of people and administrators talk about student behavior and what they expect from students, but I've also heard them talk now about parent behavior. Sometimes good, sometimes not very good. So how do you sort of encourage a positive relationship with parents?
A great way to encourage a positive relationship with parents is to have conversations with them that are about something other than your kid is in trouble. You know, and it's about when you see a parent out in the community, when you see a parent at the game, when you see a parent at the musical, at the play, to say hello and talk to them, and to have positive interactions with folks. Because unfortunately for some parents and some kids, the only interaction they ever have with the school is a negative one because they, you know, they're in trouble or their grades aren't good. But if you can have a relationship with those folks beforehand and engage them beforehand, then it makes those conversations easier, and it just makes for a better overall environment. So it's about, again, genuinely caring about those folks, genuinely caring about their kids, and engaging with them even if there's not really anything to talk about. Just saying hello and how are you? You know, I really enjoy having your kid in school. It's wonderful to have them in the halls. You know, those types of things make a big difference for people.
Hey, we started the conversation talking a little bit about facilities, but go back there in a minute. You must be pretty proud of the facilities, for example, the Performing Arts Center, and now for the shape that the school is really in. It must be a great source of pride.
Oh, absolutely. And when you can show that off to the community and to your students and to the parents and everybody who comes in there and sees that, it is a source of pride. We're very, very lucky to have what we have. And one of my favorite things to do when people come in for the first time is to take them into the weight room, because there's always a gasp when we walk in, because it's so big and it's so nice and everything is orange and black, and there's a giant sea and a bird on the wall on the far end, and so it's great to show people what we have. And then you take them from there right across the hall to the new science rooms, and you know, they're these state-of-the-art, beautiful science classrooms. And again, you get that audible gasp from people as they walk in and see what beautiful facilities we have. And then you know, it's as simple as walking in the front door to see the new office. You know, it's fun to have people come in for the first time and kind of look around and see the tall ceilings and the color scheme and all the natural light that's in there. And it really is a beautiful facility that a lot of work by a lot of people went into getting it to that point.
Sure. Now, as a principal, you also have to be responsible for and think a lot about security, and some of those demands on making a facility or a school secure have really changed over time. So what do you tell people about Charlotte High School? It's a safe facility, and why? Why should they believe that?
Well, it's a safe facility. Number one, we have a police liaison officer that's with us full time, so he has an office both kind of in the middle of the school and then in the main office. And so he's there, he's present, he's in uniform, he knows the kids, they know him, and so that presence is wonderful. We also have a tremendous assistant principal, Mrs. Burdick, and the kids know her, and she knows them, and the parents know her, and the community knows her, and so she does a great job of helping keep the school safe as well. And then we have just again that relationship piece. We know, somebody knows if there's someone there that doesn't belong. We know our kids, our teachers know our kids, and that's hugely important. And so the people piece, I think, is what makes our school safest. But then, I mean, from a purely physical, logistical standpoint, you actually have to get buzzed into the building during the day.
Sure.
So you walk up, you push a button, it rings to the office, and we have our secretaries, either Mrs. Fraser or Mrs. McCoy, who then buzz you in, and then you have to come to a window and talk to one of them before you can do your school business. And then if it's something you need to actually enter the school for, then they buzz you into another set of doors. If it's something like signing out a student or dropping off a package, that's handled right there through the window. So nobody can get into the school during the school day without having contact with an actual person.
And that has changed and evolved over time, where people just thought they could come and go, but it's all done to make kids safer.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is done to make kids safer. And it used to be, before we had this new office, you could literally walk into the building and never walk by the office and be in. And you could walk into a classroom before you walked by the main office, and that's not safe. When the school was designed in the early 1960s, those weren't things that people thought about. But now that we are in the world that we're in, we do need to be thinking about those things.
So you have to think about different things, don't you?
Yes, very much so. Education is very different. Very different than it was even 5 years ago. The demands for accountability, the demands for student achievement, the demands for just what schools are responsible to do, and how it's reported in the papers, how we do, how it's reported by the state, what we do. All that has changed drastically, and then you couple that with changes in safety, changes in laws and rules and regulations. Education is a vastly different place than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and all of that has to be taken into account when we do the work that we do.
Yeah.
And the school world that our parents went to is very different than the school world that their kids are in right now. And so helping people to understand that it's not the same place, it's not the same environment, it's not the same way of doing things, because the rules have changed drastically over the last number of years.
The schools have changed a lot, certainly for the better. And Bill, thank you for joining us. You've had a good first half of the year and look forward to the second half.
I do very much. Yes, so thank you.
Thanks again, Bill, for joining us. I'm Bob Colton. We'll continue our conversations in Charlotte Public Schools.